Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Rehr, Director of Climate Policy and Justice at Maryland LCV, and welcome to Friday Digest. Your presence here speaks to the power of our community and to your commitment to a healthy environment for everyone in Maryland. Our goal with Friday Digest is to provide you with the information, tools, and resources to be an informed and active advocate. Our agenda is driven by your interests and needs, so don't hesitate to contact us with suggestions. The easiest way to do so is through the survey you will receive at the end of the session. As you join today, please type your name into the chat and tell us where you're from. And please type your questions and comments in the chat throughout the episode. Today, we are going to talk about the state's energy efficiency program called EmPOWER. And before introducing our guest today, I'm just going to provide a very brief overview of EmPOWER and why we're talking about it today. EmPOWER was created through legislation in 2008 to be administered through the state's utilities or through the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for low-income households. EmPOWER operates as a comprehensive portfolio serving industrial, commercial, and residential customers, including multifamily and limited-income households. Residential programs include energy audits, appliance rebates, insulation and air sealing improvements, sealing, not ceiling, but like sealing, HVAC and heat pump incentives, smart thermostats, lighting upgrades, and water heating measures. You'll learn a little bit more about that, and maybe you're wondering already, hey, how do I take advantage of that? Hopefully we'll get into that in a little bit. And since its launch in 2008, EmPOWER Maryland has generated about $14.5 billion with a B in savings from installed energy efficiency measures at a cost of a little over $4 billion. That's better than a 3-to-1 return on our investments. As we said before on Friday Digest episodes, the cleanest and cheapest energy is the energy we don't use, which is why energy efficiency programs like EmPOWER are so important. Just this week, the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, or you might have heard of ACEEE, released a report with the headline, Energy Efficiency Can Address Surging Electricity Needs at Half the Cost of Gas Plants. EmPOWER directly benefits households who take advantage of the program, but also to all of us, as efficiency measures decrease overall pressure on the grid, reducing the need for new transmission or generation. And I know we've seen expensive transmission projects in the news. This session, there have been a number of legislative proposals to roll back, pause, or eliminate Maryland's EmPOWER program. Because EmPOWER is a line item surcharge on our utility bills, and I did my homework for this episode and checked my own utility bills for the last 3 months, so I know what my EmPOWER surcharge is. It's very visible because it's a standout line item. It's not folded into your distribution. It's not folded in to your supply charges. It is a standalone line item on your bill. So you can see it and you can see how it changes, and you can see how it changes month to month. And because that cost, the EmPOWER surcharge has actually gone up recently because of changes we made to how we pay for the program a few years ago. That was through additional piece of legislation. We're no longer deferring program costs. We're paying it as we spend them. And we are paying off the debt that utilities have accrued over the years of implementing this. We were sort of paying for everything on a credit card before, and utilities were earning a ton of return on that debt. But now we're paying that debt off more rapidly. And so we're seeing an increase, a short-term increase in our bills in that EmPOWER surcharge because of the way we're paying for the program. And we also enabled EmPOWER spending on things like electrification and heat pumps, which are more expensive upfront, but have tremendous benefits long-term. So against all of this backdrop, we wanted to sort of get back to basics of the program and talk about what is EmPOWER, how folks can take advantage of it, and the benefits it brings to all of us. So let me now get to our guests. We're joined by 2 guests who are absolutely perfect for this conversation. Please join me in welcoming Nicola Tran, Director of Whole Home Energy and Repairs at the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, and Jeremy Good, the Residential Energy Performance Manager at the Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. So welcome, Nicola and Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys are definitely implementers of the program, so we're excited to get into it with both of you. So To get this started, we wanted to ground the conversation in how EmPOWER addresses energy affordability and why Maryland should protect the program. So, Nicola, let's start with you. How does the EmPOWER program get implemented at DHCD?
Thanks for having us here today, Rebecca. I'm happy to share more about the EmPOWER programs at DHCD. DHCD is, by statute, the implementer of the limited income programs for EmPOWER. So how that works is we receive a portion of the EmPOWER funding that you talked about from each utility and use it to provide comprehensive energy efficiency and electrification upgrades to households with limited incomes and those that live in qualifying affordable housing properties. The limited income threshold is generally at 80% of state median income, and anybody falling under that is eligible for our programs. Both our single family and multifamily EmPOWER low income programs provide a comprehensive energy retrofit. So that can include anything from air sealing, insulation to HVAC equipment, appliances, LED lighting, water heaters, water conservation measures. The specific scope of work for each property is built based on an energy audit that's performed through a qualified professional. They assess the existing conditions in each home and determine the most impactful improvements. The contractors then install the measures, and DHCD's role is to monitor the work to ensure that it is compliant and actually produces energy savings. An independent evaluator comes in every year to verify the actual energy usage reduction for the program and making sure that the energy savings are delivered to the low-income customers.
Awesome. So I heard a couple things in there that I just want to build on. You used the word comprehensive in terms of the EmPOWER program, and your title actually includes whole home. Can you talk a little bit, what does that mean when we talk about like whole home improvements or whole home approach?
Right. So the EmPOWER program is one part of our portfolio of energy and repair programs. And the repair side is where the whole home comes in, because often when we visit low-income households, they might not have been maintained. They are in some sort of status of disrepair. And so bringing in the repair and rehabilitation programs that we have at DHCD to provide related upgrades to electrical systems, structural systems, for example, eliminating roof leaks before we put insulation into the attic. They go hand in hand to comprehensively retrofit the house so that the energy saving measures are protected in the long term and can produce the energy savings that they're intended to produce.
Wow. So there's like cascading benefits to them. You sort of take advantage of the EmPOWER program, but you're really then you're taking a step back and checking out what else is going on.
Right, because once we're in somebody's household, we want to make sure that we leave it behind in the best condition that it can be. So we always qualify each customer for as many programs as we can, and try to deliver the most comprehensive retrofit once we are able to be in their home.
All right, so one more for you before I hop over to Jeremy. What you also mentioned, so there's DHCD, but then you work with contractors and also independent evaluators. So it sounds like there's a workforce development component here as well, that there's sort of this energy efficiency is not only beneficial to the folks living in the home, but it has the ripple effects across the economy.
Correct. There's approximately 250 contractor staff involved in delivering the benefits to the customers. We also work with 13 nonprofits and local governments that connect customers with our services. We're also work with other third parties like the evaluator, a call center to help deliver those benefits.
Oh, fantastic. All right. So, Jeremy, let's talk a little bit about, we've heard from DHCD. What about at the Montgomery County level? What does the EmPOWER program look like? And, I live in Montgomery County, so I'm going to be listening closely.
Thanks, Rebecca. It's nice to be part of the conversation. And you set the stage nicely. EmPOWER is a statewide program that's implemented by utilities. So Montgomery County is actually not directly involved, but we have several things that tie us to the program. And I'll be talking about residential programs, although there are also commercial programs. So, there's several items. One is there's a quick home energy checkup. So that's sort of like a light audit. There's the Home Performance with Energy Star program, which is the full-blown audit. And then there are also programs, as you mentioned, for smart thermostats. There's appliance recycling. There are HVAC programs and other appliances. So using home performance as an example, a resident can go to their utility website, see a list of qualified contractors for the program, and then select one and get an audit for $100 in most cases, and that's subsidized quite a bit from the actual cost because this is a comprehensive assessment and diagnosis. So after that, the resident gets a report of the current state of their home, as well as a prioritized list of measures. And the goal there is to find the low-hanging fruit, the things that both will pay back the soonest and will have the most impact. And those benefits are obviously for the homeowner to lower their bills over time. Those things also help out with Maryland's climate goals and help the utilities, not need to purchase energy from the dirtiest power plants and reduce the need for additional transmission lines and so on. And I'll also quickly mention Montgomery County's programs that operate alongside EmPOWER include Montgomery Energy Connection, which is intended to be kind of like a one-stop shop for everything energy related for homes, as well as Electrify MC, which is our electrification program, and HECAP, which is our low and moderate income program that operates alongside DHCD's programs as well as those from the Maryland Energy Administration. And I'll stick a few links in the chat for those who are interested in those programs.
That's awesome. And I don't, we usually like people to stay engaged in the episode, but we would understand if people wanted to click over, if there's anybody especially joining from Montgomery County and wants to click over and explore some of your options. But generally, people can check out through their utility. Should people go through the county for resources like that, or just straight to the utility for that, like the home energy audit?
Yeah, good question. So our goal is to help our residents find their utility and find those programs. But certainly, if you know your utility and you can navigate their website, that's probably the best place to start. And I forgot to mention that, through the home performance program and others, the goal is to bring down the cost for items that may seem a little out of reach, and then the household gets to get those benefits over time of lower energy bills.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the audits were $100, which were heavily subsidized, so that's where the EmPOWER money kicks in, right? So like if I were, which I've been meaning to do, take advantage of this and go on and sign up for my energy audit, like my household would pay $100, but if I weren't going through EmPOWER, it would be more expensive for me to do that.
That's right. I think the total cost for an audit is $400
Oh, wow.
for a typical house.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's quite a bit there. And so I used to work in the home performance industry and I used to do energy audits. And, in a larger house, it can be like a 3 to 4 hour effort to gather all the data and do the testing. And then there's additional work for the report and so on after that.
Yeah. I mean, I just know, you open a cabinet and a draft comes out. So I know I got to do this, but we just keep the cabinet doors closed, So, Nicola, question for you though, for low income households, it's that charge is, they don't have to pay that charge. Is that correct?
Correct. And I just realized that I forgot to mention that, yes, the services for the low income households are provided at no additional cost to them other than, the surcharge that they're paying.
That's right.
because there's just not that funding available on the homeowner side typically to do the services otherwise.
Right. And so that's another benefit, sort of like the way that equity is built into the EmPOWER program is that DHCD administers the low income side of the program, the limited income side of the program, and it's free to people who, and do they opt in, or is there an auto enrollment? Like, and I guess that to both of you, how does that work? Do people have to proactively seek taking advantage of this in both cases?
So there are a number of different ways customers can enroll in our programs. They may either apply with the HCD directly, and the link I provided in the chat includes our application. They may also apply with one of our network partners that perform the work directly. They may also be qualified by one of our contractors if they're categorically eligible. They can also be auto-enrolled through OHEP's Bill Pay Assistance Program, where they have the option to opt out. If they don't opt out, they're automatically sent to us and enrolled in the program. We do accept also a number of different categorically eligible documentation from customers. So if they're already enrolled in other income eligible programs such as SNAP, TANF, the OHEP Bill Pay Assistance Program, Social Security, they are deemed categorically eligible and have only to complete a reduced application with no additional income documentation required. So we're trying to make the program, accessible in any way that works for the customer. So no matter who they're engaging with or where they're coming from, there is an entry door to our programs.
Yeah, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you the same question and note that there's a great question that came in, which is how long after an initial audit can one qualify for a new energy audit? So let's say you get your audit, you implement the low-hanging fruit, that prioritized list, and then is the next step a new audit? Is it an annual thing you could take advantage of, or every 4 years? I don't know. I'm making it up, so I'll let you answer because you're the expert.
That's a great question. And there's a year after you get your audit to complete the work in order to get those incentives. I mean, you can still, if it's more than a year, you may need to sort of get a refresher audit. The idea there is that if people are making changes to their homes, the incentives and so on need to be based on the current conditions. And a relatively recent change, I don't remember exactly, but it's in the last year or two, is that homes can now get a new audit after 5 years.
So you have 1 year from the audit to implement the recommendations of the audit if you want the assistance paying for it through the EmPOWER program, and you qualify for another audit 5 years later.
That's right.
Okay. Cool.
And to speak to the low income or limited income piece, we have a few pathways. Montgomery Energy Connection will ultimately route people through to OHEP if they're in need of bill assistance. And then, of course, hopefully they can get hooked into DHCD's programs that way. Our own program, HECAP, relies on that's an outgoing grant program. So we rely on our community-based organizations who have extensive networks to help find good candidates for that program.
Got it. I want to ask about I think Nicola mentioned energy savings. So you have I think the independent auditors guarantee the energy savings, whereas the DHCD. Talk a little bit more about what those energy savings looks like for a typical household that you're assisting.
Yeah, so every year the independent third party comes in to verify that our programs produce the savings that they're intended to produce. They do a bill pay analysis to look at actual before and after consumption. And the most recent evaluation found that on average, the electric usage is reduced by 17%. for the customers participating in our programs. And if they have gas heat, there's an additional 17% reduction on the gas side as well. So that can really add up, and the typical lifetime for these energy savings are 15 to 20 years. So this is a really long-term energy reduction that will, produce savings year after year. Outside of the energy savings, there's also so-called non-energy benefits that are generated through our programs. The evaluators found that for every dollar of energy benefits, an additional 67 cents of non-energy benefits are generated, which includes reduction of environmental pollution. So there's obviously the greenhouse gas emissions reduction component to the program, reduction in water waste, reduction in arrearages. The customers are more easily able to stay on top of paying their bills once it is lowered. And then also an increase in comfort and health and safety. And a large part of that health and safety increase comes through improved indoor air quality, through the insulation and air sealing measures and the related repairs that I mentioned that we perform in the homes.
Love that point. Our regular listeners will know that once we start talking health, you're speaking my language. And when we can talk about energy, climate, and health, sort of this, it's sort of a different way to look at a triple bottom line. But that, when it's more than just an additive effect. When we can talk about those three together through programs like EmPOWER. And it's so important that we're having this conversation, because those cost savings are not always what we talk about when we talk about the cost of a program. And it's so true in this realm of energy and climate and health. And so appreciate you bringing up non-energy benefits, and that you are actually doing some of the math to show the quantification of non-energy benefits. So love to hear that. Jeremy, anything to add on what we fondly call NEBs?
Yeah, no, this is super important. I actually started my time in the home performance business doing indoor air quality work, and I think it's something that's often overlooked. Most of us are spending over 90% of our time indoors, and so our indoor environment is really important. And, especially those of us with kids and so on, they're more susceptible. So, one of the good things about the home performance program is that there is a ventilation assessment as part of the audit. And if you choose to, air seal and insulate your house, that makes the building envelope tighter. And there's a risk there that, we're not getting enough oxygen for the humans that are in the building. And then also additional pollutants like from cooking, and then, off-gassing of furniture and other items is potentially causing a health concern. So part of that process requires additional ventilation if, and this is all based on the performance of the individual house. So the goal is to balance health and energy. And I really think that's very important.
And you mentioned earlier a payback period for some of these upgrades, if you will. So talk a little bit more about that and how we think about that in the program.
Yeah, and so this is sort of a key difference between limited income programs and market rate ones, where it's the homeowner who really gets to choose. Now, if they're not expecting to be in their house for very long, they might unfortunately choose to to not make those investments. However, many folks are intending to be in their house for a decade plus, and with rising energy rates, it really can make sense to make that investment up front. In addition to the indoor air quality piece, there are also comfort benefits. Like, I remember so clearly going into a house after it had been, this was like a 1910 house, had no insulation. And after the crew had been in there, I walked in the door and I was like 10 feet into this house. And I'm like, oh, wow, it feels much better in here. And the homeowner was thrilled because not only were her bills going to be significantly lower, but the house felt much better. So it is
Mhm.
hard. I know Nicola has numbers on that kind of stuff. It's hard to put a number on that, but it does matter, and it's an additional benefit.
Yeah, it's hard to put a number on a feeling, huh? I think time is flying. I've taken more notes, I think, on this episode than don't tell previous guests than I think I have on other episodes. So everything you provided has been so helpful. One last question for you both is I want to get back to one of the points I made in the beginning is that we've talked a lot about the benefit to the homeowner and correct me if I'm wrong, but landlords can take advantage of this. Like if you own your house and you rent it out, you know, um, I would encourage landlords to take advantage of this program as well. But that you uh the homeowner has a direct benefit from taking advantage of this program either through the limited income or market rate programs. But if even if you're everybody's paying into the program, and even if you don't take direct advantage of it, which you should, which I'm going to do it, then but we're all benefiting because I mean Nicola gave the numbers of 17% reductions in energy savings, and we're not reductions in energy savings in energy use, which results in energy savings, which reduces overall demand on the grid, which reduces the need for the what can be a very expensive transmission lines or new generation, which are very much in the consciousness right now. Can you just like a few words on that overall, the sort of overall reductions in demand and demand on the grid for either one of you?
So I think I don't have any number of the overall program
Yeah.
demand reduction, but by focusing on the comprehensive retrofits, and I think this goes for both programs, that's typically where the largest demand reductions come from, is about how to fix up the home on how it holds heat and how it holds cold air. And that is done through insulation and air sealing. So that's really one of the biggest demand reducers in the program. The less heat escapes in the winter and less heat enters in the summer, the heating systems have to run less frequently, and that can significantly lower the peak demand, especially during the hottest days in the summer and the coldest day in the winter, which really helps reduce the overall demand on the grid. It aids with grid stability, and it just kind of levels out those extremes that are occurring more and
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
And echoing those points, there's synergy between doing the building envelope upgrades, air sealing and insulation, and the overall grid situation because you may be able to put in a smaller heat pump or air conditioner after you've done that building envelope work. And then not only does that mean lower energy bills over time, but then on those really hot days in the summer, that's lower peak demand. And, as Nicola mentioned, that reduces stress on the grid, avoids operating the dirtiest plants, and so on.
Yeah, great points. Thank you, Nicola and Jeremy, so much for joining. I thought this episode really gave a clear picture of the Empower program, how it works, how people can take advantage of it, the benefits of it. Denise is saying it in the chat better than I could have, making sure that we're promoting this program, that legislators, when they get questions from their constituents about what they can do about rising bills, take advantage of the Empower program, take advantage of community solar. You're guaranteed a lower rate on your electricity if you're participating in the community solar program because of some really strong community solar laws we have in the state of Maryland. So take advantage of these programs that we have here. We got one more question in the chat about specific bill numbers. Look out for an action alert in your emails this afternoon. Like I mentioned, there's actually a number of different bills that take different approaches to empower. So what's really important that we convey to our legislators at this stage is to support the Empower program. So Maryland LCV is going to be sending you out an action alert to ask your legislators to protect, defend, empower the program. So that'll be the message, and it's one that we should all be sort of singing at the moment. Make sure you fill out the survey that was just put in the chat. Thank you to our audience for joining. Loved the questions and engagement. We'll be back next week, same time, with another edition of Friday Digest. Make sure you're signed up for our emails. Follow us on social media. We have a big week ahead. We're going to be saying that for the next few weeks. And thank you, and have a great Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.